Welcome to the deep dive. Healthcare is evolving, really fast. And with that comes just this huge amount of information. It can be tough to sort through.
Absolutely, it's a lot.
So our goal here, like always, is to sift through those complex sources, the dense articles, the research, and pull out the key insights for you.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into MedTech AI hardware and clinical application programs.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's all about how technology, especially AI, is really changing healthcare. From the research labs right through to the patient.
And we're drawing on a really insightful article for this from AI News. It focuses specifically on these kinds of innovations.
Right.
So our mission really is to cut through all that noise and highlight the transformative potential and, crucially, the real-world applications. We want you to understand not just what's new, but why it actually matters.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The basic challenge right now in healthcare is that the traditional ways of doing things...
The old models.
Yeah, exactly. Your face-to-face appointments, paper records, they're struggling to keep up.
They really are. Things are just so much more data-driven now.
And patients and professionals, they're looking for easier, more efficient ways to get and share information. There's definitely been a shift in what people expect.
That's right. And this is where generative AI, or GenAI, really comes into the picture. It arguably has the strongest transformative potential in healthcare tech programs right now.
Strongest potential. Why GenAI specifically?
Well, what's different about GenAI isn't just processing data. Lots of AI does that. It's the creating part.
Creating.
Yeah, creating new solutions, synthesizing information differently, even speeding up discovery in ways maybe older AI couldn't. That generative power, that's what gives it such huge potential across R&D, operations, even the supply chain. It's touching, pretty much everything in MedTech.
And the numbers seem to support that idea pretty strongly. McKinsey's data gives a sense of the scale here.
Mm-hmm. The numbers are quite something.
They estimate MedTech companies could grab between, $14 billion and $55 billion a year just in productivity gains from GenAI.
That's a massive range, but even the low end is huge.
And then there's this. GenAI adoption is also thought to add over $50 billion in revenue from new products, new services.
Wow. So new income streams, too.
Exactly. And a McKinsey survey from just this year, 2024, found about 2/3 of MedTech execs have already started implementing GenAI.
2/3 already. That's fast adoption.
It is. And around 20% are already scaling those solutions and reporting substantial benefits to productivity. When you hear figures like that, what does it actually mean day to day for a company?
Well, those figures definitely show the speed and the benefits, like you said.
Yeah.
For the companies, it's not just saving money. It's opening up completely new ways to make money, innovations that just weren't feasible before.
Right.
But, even with that growth, there are still challenges. We're definitely seeing organizations hitting roadblocks.
Yep.
Things like integrating different data sources, strategies that aren't joined up across the company, and just finding people with the right skills. Skill gaps are a big one.
So despite all the excitement...
Yeah, exactly. Despite the buzz, there's a real need for a more, let's say, streamlined, cohesive way to roll out GenAI, to really get the most out of it and, turn those big numbers into actual impact.
That makes sense. So that rapid adoption is fascinating. But if we zoom in a bit, where is GenAI having the biggest impact in MedTech right now? It seems like R&D departments are really out front on this. Is that just because R&D folks are usually okay with new tech, or is there something else going on?
That's a really good question. It's not just comfort, I think. It's more about what GenAI can actually do. Its ability to speed up hypothesis generation, synthesize data.
Right.
That's core R&D work.
Right. Handling all that information.
Exactly. Think about how much time those teams spend wading through research papers. GenAI can streamline that massively summarizing complex articles almost instantly. And what's really interesting, maybe a bit challenging for companies too, is this sort of grassroots adoption trend.
Grassroots, so individual researchers.
Yeah, individual researchers are just starting to use these AI tools to be more productive, sometimes even before the company has a big official strategy.
Huh. So it's bubbling up from the bottom.
Kind of, which shows how useful it is immediately, but also maybe highlights the need for more top-down guidance and support.
So let's talk about those productivity gains again. AI tools, automating tasks, speeding things up, cutting down admin time.
And improving accuracy, too. Don't forget that. Better depth in the research.
Right. And some companies are seeing 20% to 30% gains in research productivity. That sounds incredibly transformative. But does that mean researchers are just freed up for harder problems, or is there maybe a risk they rely too much on the AI?
That's exactly the balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the critical thing. While the AI speeds things up and helps out, the sources are clear. Human review is still absolutely required.
Ah, okay, so humans are still checking everything.
Yes. To make sure final submissions are correct? Satisfactory. It just highlights that you still need human oversight, not just for accuracy, but for ethics, for that nuanced judgment an algorithm can't really do.
So it's more about augmenting the humans, not replacing them.
Precisely. Letting people focus on the higher level strategic thinking, while the AI handles the heavy lifting with the data.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So with all this amazing innovation happening in development, the next question is pretty obvious. How do you actually measure if it's successful?
Right.
It's not just about building cool tech. It has to work, be efficient.
You've hit on a really crucial point there.
Yeah.
And that's where KPIs come in. Key performance indicators.
That guy's right.
They play a massive role. They help healthcare providers
Yeah.
use data to improve patient outcomes, for example.
Right.
They help optimize how resources are used, encourage continuous improvement, across all parts of care. They're like the compass, really, giving you solid metrics for goals that can sometimes feel a bit fuzzy.
And when we talk about healthcare product programs, these are structured projects, right? To develop, deliver, optimize medical products.
Exactly. And it's complex stuff. It really needs smooth coordination across different teams, clinical, technical, regulatory, business. Everyone has to be on the same page.
So what are the critical KPIs in that kind of program?
Well, time to market is a huge one. Getting a product from an idea to actually being available quickly is vital in this fast-moving field.
Makes sense. You don't want to be left behind.
And AI is directly helping here. McKinsey actually notes that AI-assisted labeling, just one example, has led to a 20% to 30% improvement in operational efficiency.
20 to 30% just on labeling. Wow.
Yeah. And of course, things like resource utilization rates are key too. How efficiently are you using time, money, people during development? These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They directly impact if a product makes it or not.
So it sounds like you need a really comprehensive view of performance, looking at finance, operations, clinical quality, and the patient experience too.
That's it. A holistic view. You need to track all those angles.
And related to that, there seems to be a big shift happening.
Oh, yeah.
Well, innovation isn't just judged on technical performance anymore. User experience UX is just as important now.
Absolutely. That's become massive. It's all about how easy and intuitive these powerful tools are for the people actually using them, whether that's a surgeon or a patient at home.
Right. And there are even awards for this now, the UX Design Awards. They recognize products that nail both the user experience and the technical side.
Exactly. These top products, they really prioritize the needs and experiences of patients and healthcare workers. But they also have to meet all the tough clinical and regulatory standards, of course.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. One mentioned is the Cyardic Move by Siemens Healthineers. It's a self-driving 3D C-arm imaging system.
Self-driving.
Yeah, and surgeons can control it wirelessly right there in the sterile operating field.
Wow. So no breaking sterility to adjust the imager. That must make a huge difference to workflow.
You'd imagine so. And then there's another example, ASUS, with their Health Connect app and VivaWatch series.
Oh, like consumer tech.
Kind of crossing that boundary.
Right.
It showcases this blend of AIoT, the artificial intelligence of things.
Right. Smart devices.
Smart healthcare solutions, but with really user-friendly interfaces. So complex tech made accessible, even for everyday users.
It's really interesting to see how that complex tech is becoming easier to use, more intuitive, especially as patients themselves are getting more tech-savvy.
Definitely. The design is simplifying things, making advanced capabilities available much more broadly. That's a big change.
So you create this amazing tech, you make it user-friendly, but then you have to get it approved and out there.
Which is no small feat in healthcare.
Right. That brings us to the regulatory side. The need to establish clear clinical and regulatory paths at the same time. That sounds critical for teams to feed their findings back into development.
It's absolutely vital. You can't develop in a vacuum. And GenAI is actually transforming this part too.
Oh, so.
By automating the creation and refining of really complex documents, dealing with mixed data sets, structured, unstructured data, all the stuff needed for regulatory submissions.
So it must speed up compliance work significantly and maybe improve accuracy.
You'd expect so. It handles a lot of the painstaking work. And when you combine GenAI adoption with Agile development practices.
Like sprints and iterative development.
Exactly. That combination helps teams navigate the regulatory landscape much better, especially since regulations themselves can change.
So being agile helps adapt to rule changes.
Right. Ultimately, the key insight here is about baking a regulatory mindset into a team early. If you think about compliance from the start, it helps ensure you meet the standards and you can keep innovating. It avoids roadblocks later on.
It leads to faster, safer rollout of new solutions.
That's the goal.
Wow, what an incredible overview of the pace of change in MedTech. We've really covered a lot of ground.
We have. It's moving fast.
From GenAI's huge impact on R&D and potentially revenue to how crucial user experience has become.
The UX factor is key now.
And navigating those complex regulatory paths with AI's help, it's clear we're seeing this powerful mix of really advanced technology and human ingenuity working together.
It really is. Maybe a final thought to leave folks with, building on what we've discussed.
Yeah.
As MedTech keeps evolving this quickly, and GenAI gets woven even more deeply into everything, what new ethical questions might pop up?
Like around data privacy.
Data privacy, definitely.
Yeah.
But also maybe the human element in care pathways that are becoming more and more automated. Where does the human touch fit in?
That's a really interesting and important question to think about. Something for you, our listener, to perhaps continue your own deep dive on. Maybe start observing how these kinds of technologies begin to show up in your own interactions with the healthcare system in the years ahead. It's definitely something to watch.